welcome to the Dare to Share Challenge. I am so pumped for today's guest. We've got another amazing, incredible leader waiting in the wings to dare to share all. Why? So that you see the human behind the perception. This challenge is not like any other challenge. It's not like an easy breezy podcast where we sit here, we have a cup of tea, and we talk all things easy. We get deep here. We go more vulnerable than ever before. The leaders, the speakers that join me on this stage are the bravest of the brave, and they are pioneering the path as we trailblaze a new paradigm of leadership, raw and real style. So with that being said, let me welcome our guest today. We have the incredible Naz Spurrier. Naz, welcome.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You are most welcome. I am so excited. And Naz, before we jump in, I always like to ask everyone, what made you say yes to coming on this challenge? I know we just had like a very brief chat before, and you're like, I haven't watched any of them. I just dived straight. What made you say yes? Because you didn't have to.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things where like I very famously, like my clients will know this and other people I talk to, like I don't really know a lot of the time. All I know is that it feels right. You know what I mean? Like I like know what that yes feels like in my body. And I have gotten so good at listening to that yes in my body. So I know that like when something jumps out at me, when I read about something or I find out about something or I'm invited to something, if I have that instant like, yeah, this feels good, then I know that it's meant for me. And I just kind of follow the breadcrumbs to wherever they're going to go. Right. So that's what I felt about when I saw this opportunity. I was like, oh, yeah, of course I want to do that. Like it wasn't even like a question in my mind or my body. And so, yeah, here I am.
I love that so much. And I resonate so much with that as well. It's like, why? I don't know. Like the body told me.
It's like I don't even give my mind time to think about why. It's like it doesn't matter. We just know it's right. So we're going to go for it.
I love it so much. This is going to be so powerful. I can feel it now. Right. So for you guys watching, if you are new here, let me tell you how this is going to go. So I'm going to ask Naz a couple of very on the surface, what appear to be very normal, very easy questions. But the whole point of this challenge is that I ask every single person who joins me to stretch their level of vulnerability, to go deeper than they've ever gone before, to share a little bit of discomfort so that you really realize that you're not so different after all. And that behind the scenes, behind the curtains, behind closed doors, we are all the same. We are all here navigating the same thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Truly, the only difference is how much we share of it, how much we show of it, and ultimately how we lead ourselves through it. So, Naz, what we need to do now is get a sense of direction from you. Okay. So we need to clarify which level of vulnerability you're going to share with us today. And we have two options. So don't panic. I'm not just like throwing you out here into the
Oh my
lion.
gosh.
So we have two options. Now, the first is stretchy. And it's your hero's journey. It's your story. It's your life's trials and tribulations that you've overcome. You've got the lessons. You've come out the other side. And they're truly powerful to share. Or we have the extreme level. And the extreme level is something that you're navigating, something that you're experiencing, something that you're growing through in real time right now. And you might not be on the other side yet. You might not have the answers yet, but it's real, it's messy, and it's happening in this moment. Now, for you guys watching, there are no cop-outs here. Both are equally as vulnerable and equally as powerful, but we do need a sense of direction. So Naz, where do you want to take us today?
I'm happy to go extreme. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with being vulnerable and sharing, where you are right now, because, if that's going to help somebody and someone's going to resonate with where I am, and even if I'm just one step ahead of them in this journey and I can help them sort of navigate that, then I'm happy to do it.
Amazing, amazing. I always love the extremes because they're the kind of shares that most leaders won't share until they get out the other side. And I always think when we hear them in real time, or we've necessarily got the lessons, there's just something so magical and so powerful about that. So I am super excited.
Yeah.
Are you ready to dive in?
I'm ready.
Okay, so we have two main questions. Now, number one, I always feel like a show host when I do this bit. So, number one is, what does being a real and a raw leader mean to you, Naz? And we're not just talking about in business, okay? We're talking about the human, the woman, the individual that is living an everyday life just like we all are. That realness and that
Mhm.
rawness, how does that transpire in your day to day life?
I think a big piece of being able to be in alignment and to be living authentically is to allow yourself to be in the moment, right? And just being who you are and being like, knowing that like today is going to be a day that maybe I'm going to show up fully. Maybe it's a day that I like to call them fuck it days, where it's like, this is not a day where I'm doing anything productive because I'm in a mood or something's going on, and that's okay. And I think it's important to share those things with people, because I feel like a lot of times, especially like right now, well, not right now, like lately over the past like several years with social media and different things, like everybody wants to share the perfection. Everybody wants to share like the happy story and the, like you said, the coming out on the other side, which is beautiful. We want to see that. We want to know that people struggled and came out on the other side, because we always do, right? We always come out on the other side. Like, I don't care what you're going through right now, like you're going to move through it and you are going to come out on the other side. But like, we need to know about the going through it part too. And I think that it's really important to share that with our clients, with the world, and just being authentic in your everyday, and just saying like, today was kind of crappy, or today didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, and this is what I did, and maybe I found ways to work through it and move through it, or maybe I didn't, and that's okay too, and just like, for me, emotional intelligence and being able to master your emotions is a huge part of my work. And being an embodiment of that, like showing people that like it's okay to be emotional and it's okay to feel your feelings. Don't live there for too long, right? Like we want to have that mastery over it, but it doesn't mean that we don't have those feelings or those emotions or those moments at all.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I, I'm kind of dumbstruck because what you're talking about, I literally recorded a Dare to Share with Dawn about an hour ago. And for you guys watching, if you didn't watch that, go and watch that straight after Naz's and you'll hear what I'm saying here. But the synchronicity of what you just said
Oh, I
and
love
what
it.
earlier,
Of course.
I just love it. And that whole part of feeling your feelings and not feeling shame around it. And that doesn't mean that you're a martyr, right? It doesn't mean that you're like, oh, boo hoo me. It's like, no, you're honoring where you are right now because you know that you are going to be okay at some point. I love it.
Exactly. And I feel like that is what emotional intelligence is, right? I think a lot of times people misconstrue that and think that like it means that I'm not going to feel uncomfortable feelings anymore. And what it actually is that of course you're going to feel the feelings. It's just the fact that you know that you can handle them. Like that's what emotional intelligence is that I am going to feel those feelings, but I also know that I'm going to be okay on the other side of it.
Exactly. Oh, I love this. I love this so much. Okay, Naz, are you ready for the big question?
Oh gosh, yes.
I,
Now I'm
I
nervous.
love
No, I'm just
I love this challenge so much, right? Because I was actually guesting on a podcast the other day, and she said to me, she was like, how do you kind of prep your speakers for the challenge? And I was like, I just tell them to get more vulnerable than they've ever been before. Basically, like that's how I prep them.
right.
I love this because I just love seeing even the most seasoned of speakers, the people that we look up to so much, incredible leaders like yourself, come on this stage and really peel back all of those layers and remove all of those perceptions that everyone else has just from the online space. So this is what this challenge is all about. That being said, Naz, what are you willing to dare to share with us all today?
I think for me, being vulnerable is something that I don't want to say it's not difficult for me. It's not that I have like a fear of being vulnerable or sharing things with people. I think that it's like not innate for me, right? I grew up in a household and kind of a culture of like everything's good, right? We're fine all the time. Like everything's great, and just really like brushing things under the rug, not letting anybody see any of the cracks or the facades or anything like that. And so for me, a big challenge has been to allow myself to go there because I know that I can. It's not that I'm like afraid of what people will think of me. You know, I think a lot of times when people get vulnerable or don't want to be vulnerable, they're like, oh, people may not like me or they're going to think I'm weak or the, it's none of that. It's almost just that it feels unnatural for me. And so that's really putting me out of my comfort zone to say that, like, you know, it is okay for people to see my imperfections. And it's not that I'm afraid that they're going to think less of me because they see that I'm not perfect, because nobody is perfect. It's more that, like, it feels unnatural or almost wrong to
Yeah.
do it because it wasn't acceptable growing up. It wasn't something that was, you know, talked about or allowed, almost even allowed, in very subtle ways. And so it's almost like I feel like I'm kind of being a bad girl in a way. Of like, "Well, don't tell people that stuff. Like, don't tell people, you know, the not, you know, perfect things about yourself." So, you know, I feel like that's sort of what I'm working through right now is like how to allow myself to share the realness without feeling like I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah. Oh my God. That resonates with me so much. Like as you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, I had exactly that same upbringing where, you know,
Yeah.
it's we always paint the smiles on the faces and, you know, everything's
Mhm,
okay.
mhm.
You know, I'm British, so we have this kind of stiff upper lip, right? And we're like, you know, everything's
Right.
always like we're all right. We're always all right. Everything's okay. Have a cup of tea, it'll be fine. And it's like that.
Yeah, yeah, you know, just like get over it. Like we're not going to go there. Like we're just pretending like it's not happening.
Yeah.
And I think that you know, it runs so deep. You know, you don't even realize how deep it is and how, you know, ingrained it can be in you. And to the point where it's again, like I said, I don't think that like there's really like I don't have the insecurities around it the way I think some other people do of like, oh, if people found out, they wouldn't like me. Like, it's none of that. It's really just like, it feels wrong. It feels like I'm like doing the wrong thing. And it's like, and then that's where that, like, you know, that people pleasing and that little girl inside that like wants to be right, like wants to make sure she's doing everything right and wants, you know, that love and that, you know, acceptance in that way, like that sort of comes through in those moments when I'm like being asked to be like, well, what went wrong today? And it's like, I can't tell you that. Like, I'm only supposed to talk about what went right, you know?
Oh my gosh. So Naz, I would love to ask you, do you have any maybe tips or pieces of advice or things that you're implementing to help you work through this that the audience can maybe take away? And you might not, that's fine. But if you do, is there anything you can say, okay, this is something that I'm utilizing to work through this?
And I mean, like I said, this is still a work in progress. So it's not something that I've fully mastered yet, but I do feel like I have mastered it compared to, you know, a year or two ago in that regard. But I mean, you know, it's really just the awareness, right? Like I think awareness is key. Like once we have awareness of something, we have a choice. We get to be aware and do it anyway, or we get to be aware and do something differently. And I think that like, and now that I have this awareness of sort of like, what this is about, where it's coming from. I recognize that it's like a younger part of me that feels that hesitation, right? It's not like adult me. It's like a younger part. And so in that regard, I can kind of hold her and kind of, you know, talk with her. I do a lot of parts work. I don't know if you or your audience is familiar with that, but you know, internal family systems and parts work is like at the core of my work. And so being able to like navigate that part, communicate with her, let her know that it's safe to be seen, that it's safe to be heard, that it's okay to do this, even though it might have not been back then. Like we're grown up now, you know what I mean? Like we can do whatever we want, we can say whatever we want, you know, and that we don't have to worry about what other people are thinking. That can really help, and to allow her to feel safe. And when she feels safe, then I feel safe as a whole to show up and to be able to navigate whatever it is that's going on in the moment.
Yeah, so powerful that inner child work and really recognizing what part of yourself the feelings are
Hmm.
coming up from. So powerful.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I would love for you to tell everyone a little bit more. I know you've touched on it briefly, but a little bit more about the magic that you bring into the world and how
Yeah.
anyone watching can come and get into that magical world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been a licensed psychotherapist for over 16 years. In 2021, well, 2020 really, when the world sort of went crazy, we all know, a lot of things in my life changed. My private practice went completely online. And I was introduced to the coaching world. And so I realized that I could have so much of a bigger platform. I could reach so many more people from all over the world, not just the state that I'm licensed in, because the way my license works is it only works in the state of Maryland in the US. And so with coaching, I could reach so many more people. And so I started my coaching business in 2021. And I am a manifestation coach. I am an emotional intelligence coach. I call myself a dream life coach. I truly believe that you can have it all, especially as women. A lot of times we're told like you can have the money, but not the man. You can have the family, but not the career, right? And I just don't believe that. And I don't subscribe to that. And I am an embodiment of that not being true. And so my mission is to just help women all over the world realize that you get to have it all, whatever all means to you. It's going to be different for everybody, but you get to have the dream life. And so I help them through the inner work, through the manifestation work, through the mindset work, all of the different pieces that need to be in place in order for you to live whatever your dream life looks like.
Oh my gosh. Well, that sounds amazing. Sign me up right now. And for you guys watching, if you're listening to this whilst you're multitasking, don't worry. We're going to put all of the links in the show notes below. So you can come, hop back in, go and get in Naz as well, because, I mean, why wouldn't you? After listening
Yes.
to that, we all want the dream life.
Yes.
We all
I
want
mean.
to have it all. Yes, Naz is creating a whole new universe where we can all have that. I love that so much. Naz, this has been so incredible. And I really want to thank you for going extreme with us today and for sharing your story, your truth, your vulnerability with us all so that we all really see the human behind that perception of success.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to do more with you and to be speaking in March. And that's going to be so amazing. It's going to be awesome.
Okay. So for you guys watching, little teaser, Naz is one of our headline speakers in the Legends Summit on the 3rd to the 7th of March. So depending when you're listening to this, make sure you check that out as well. But
Yes,
Naz,
definitely.
thank you so much for joining us. For everyone watching, thank you for being here. Please do share this with your friends, your family, your colleagues, your contacts, because every single person can benefit from hearing real and raw stories, because behind it all, we really are all the same. Thank you guys for listening. Naz, thank you for joining me, and I will see you all soon.
Thank you.